honestly, half the times where he would come into the office and just lay on the floor, like, wow, what am I doing? You know, like, what's this character doing? And I think being that trusted other half is also such a wonderful thing to sort of like steward the world with them.
Yeah.
And so you're right. Yeah. Shout out to co-writers.
I mean, you're the reason I made Salil the main character. Like, I wrote my first book about the boy and everything. And then I was writing, I was like, I came up there, I just laid down. I was like, oh my God, I think Salil's the main character. I've got to rewrite this book. Like,
You really did.
yeah.
Hello, fellow humans.
Hello, fellow human. Welcome.
I'm just a very smart dog.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I hear you.
we're in the new age where smart dogs can figure out technology,
That's true.
whereas humans cannot.
Actually, I think that's a line from Tank Girl. I don't know if you ever seen Tank Girl. Back in the day, it's like
90s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Lori Petty.
Tragically 90s.
And
Hey.
one of the like kangaroo guys, whatever, he's just like, I used to be like a really smart dog, and then they kind of gave me the title of human. So I guess, like, you know, like, yeah, it's a crazy movie if you ever seen
It
Tank
really
Girl.
is. Who's the gal?
Well, Lori Petty.
Lori Petty, yeah. Like they're on. She's a treat in that. She steals the show.
I remember the 90s, the heyday, the 90s were the heyday for role-playing games. So if it came out as a movie, like 6 months later came out as an RPG.
Oh.
So there's a Tank
really?
Girl RPG out there somewhere. I've seen
I'm
it.
sure.
I'm okay with it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
great stuff. Like,
I have some of those old kinds of things, just like, well, this has some good ideas in it, and I found it used for $5, so why not?
Why not?
Vintage role-playing games.
Yeah.
Yes.
like Monopoly.
Gee.
Why do we invite you?
Finest.
Goodness.
But yeah, good evening. We are Bards and Balladeers podcast. We're here with a lovely guest episode. This is Kate, Rio. I'm Usger, and we're here with David Bruns, author extraordinaire. We've just got a couple of bookkeeping things to go over at first here. This podcast is about story in all its forms if you've never been here before. So movies, books, role-playing games, video games, any kind of story, we're here for it.
Music.
Music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And music.
He's our music advocate.
Yeah.
We are found on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Amazon Music. Yeah. Join our Discord. Link will be down below. We have lovely, lively debates there and funny memes.
Unfiltered, which is really nice.
Yeah. We're growing that community. We're looking to get up to 100 subscribers. So that's our new goal here. So same as our old goal.
How far do you have to go?
We're at 60, I think,
60?
right now. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So it's been
That's
a
more than-
steady climb.
Yeah.
So that's your 2026 goal?
That's right.
Yeah.
At least that.
Yeah.
If not, I'm done.
No.
You promised me 100 subscribers.
No,
Yep.
we did not.
After 100 subscribers, we want 100K per year.
Yes, that too.
There's a little gulf in between those two.
Just
So yeah, join our Discord. We're fun there. Links description down below. And do we have anything upcoming? Like any special events going on?
Not yet. We should probably do another live stream, but we can talk about that sometimes.
It's the new year. You're joining us here in the new year. We're not filming this in the new year, but
yes.
Happy New Year.
Unless they reset the servers, but
Yeah, but we'll plan a live stream soon. So watch this space and find out about that.
Or Discord, yeah.
And yeah, like I said, we're here with David Bruns. So why don't you tell us a little bit about like what it is that you write and your background a little bit?
So I've been writing for about 10 plus years as a full-time writer. I was one of these guys who ran away from a corporate job and decided to become a writer. Do not recommend that as a career choice, by the way. I started in science fiction and wrote a couple of books in science fiction. And I'm a Naval Academy graduate, and one of the area groups asked myself and a gentleman named J.R. Olson, who's also a Naval Academy graduate, to speak at a Naval Academy Parents Association meeting one Sunday in 2014. And we agreed, went down to Lakeville, and it's a group just like you think it is. It's parents of Naval Academy midshipmen. And the topic of the day was, what is your kid going to do when they graduate? So I was there as a guy who had, I was I was in for 6 years. I was a submarine officer, and then got out and did a private sector career. And now I was writing books. So I gave my bio, which took about 5 minutes. It was just like I just said. And then JR starts talking. JR was a career naval intelligence officer, did a lot of cool stuff, worked in special operations, worked with CIA, and he starts talking. And he was in this operation and that operation. Like 15 minutes later, he finishes up, and somebody in the audience raises their hand and they said, "You two should get together and write a book." And I'm thinking, that is a great idea.
Brilliant.
So the next week I asked him out to lunch, and I said, we had lunch, and I said, "Hey, JR, what do you think about this idea of a book?" He says, "Oh my God, I was hoping you were going to ask me. I have a great idea for a first book." So we said, let's do it. And that was in 2014. Took us a year to write that book. It was called Weapons of Mass Deception. We did a Kickstarter. We self-published it. And
I went to that book launch.
yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So funny.
And it was a really fun time. And then we said, okay, what do you want to do next? He says, well, why don't we write another one? I said, cool. What's it about? We have no idea. So we're reading the paper. We're reading the paper. And at this time, within Minneapolis, you were having a lot of young Somali men who were being recruited by ISIS and Al-Shabaab, and they were getting on a plane and going to Turkey and ending up fighting. And their parents had no idea why. So we had a friend in the FBI who connected us with the community. We talked to a bunch of people, and we wrote a book called Jihadi Apprentice about a young woman, actually, who gets recruited in the Twin Cities. And we have an FBI agent who has to solve the case before mayhem erupts.
Cool. I didn't know about that one.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And our 12th book comes out next month.
Dang.
Wow.
You guys are prolific.
Bravo.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, over 10 years. Yeah. I mean,
Sure.
we try to do 1 or 2 a year.
Compared to me, you guys are prolific.
1 to 2 a year. So that collaboration almost, you've found your flow of how to make it work in a way, it seems.
Yeah. So it helps that we the first 2 books were crowdfunded and self-published. We got picked up by St. Martin's Press Macmillan in end of 2017, beginning of 2018 for 2 books. That one came out. One came out in June of 2019, and one came out in September of 2020. It was a great experience. The money was good. The experience was kind of miserable. We would not do that again.
Traditional publishing, you mean, or just
Traditional publishing. It was. It's a huge company, and you are a cog in the wheel. Once you sign the dotted line and you cash the check, and the check was big, it was great. But all the other things, I mean, you just sort of go in the flow, and they're going to do what they're going to do. And if your book sells, your book sells. And if your book doesn't sell, your book doesn't sell. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Sure. Because you have no control over it, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can do things at the margins, but things like Facebook ads or book tours or those kinds of things are really, sort of decided by people beyond you. And, you sort of have to do your own thing. We ended that relationship after the book. So the book that came out in 2020 was called The Pandora Deception. It was actually about bioweapons, and it came out in the middle of the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
It was not a, it didn't do very well, and there was no marketing behind it. They didn't offer us a contract. We didn't want a contract. And we were decided to go back to self-publishing.
Sure.
Which was, we're very happy to do that. A guy I had met years ago called me, and he says, I started a publishing company. He was a writer. He did very well with ads, and he did very well with his own series, and he decided he was going to expand that. He started a company called Severn River Publishing. And he called us and he said, I'd like you to come write a series for me. And we said, no, I don't think so. But he was persistent. And finally, he convinced us, and it was a great move. We really enjoyed working with them, but their requirement is 2 books a year.
Yeah.
So, and intense. 2 books a year of this kind of book, it's a 100,000+ word book. There's a lot of research that goes into that, which is great to have 2 people. That takes all of 6 months.
Yeah. Tell me about it. My first book is about 167,000 words. And my second one is 30% longer. And people are like, hey, is your new book done yet? I'm like, you don't know what you're asking for.
It takes so much.
I do have a day job. I did.
Yeah.
Right. And that intensity too. Some people, I feel like they thrive sort of in that environment. And I feel like some, you said that it's two of you.
Yeah.
So, and again, having worked together before might help the pressure in a way. But do you think that pressure is something that helps you too as much, or is it more of
so we have gotten to the point now where we know how we work together. We know how to write a book. And basically the process is we sit down and we, we meet a couple times, 3-4 times over a month. We talk about the big story structure, the big tentpole moments, the characters we're going to bring in. So all of our books, it's a cast of characters that is carried through the whole series.
Sure.
So we're, which characters are we going to use? Are we going to have new characters? What's the thrust of the story? And once we can sort of articulate a story arc, then we get together and we go, okay, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. JR does all the research.
Oh, wow.
So if I don't know something, or I need a location, or I need a whatever, I just put, when I'm writing, I just put in parentheses, fill in description of whatever here. Or, guy bursts into a room carrying a weapon. What kind of weapon is he carrying? What would a Navy SEAL carry? Whatever.
I feel like that's kind of his wheelhouse,
exactly.
being intelligence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I do all the first drafting.
Okay.
So the pressure's really on me. I'm actually trying to finish a book now.
What are you doing here?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
Hope you're right on that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's just that. And so I write a chapter, put it in a shared folder. He gets it. He does an edit on it, puts it into a new folder. I write the whole book all the way through before I look at those chapters. So I can't jump around, or, people do all kinds of different things.
I can't do that either.
I'm an end-to-end guy. I start at chapter 1, I end at chapter 50 or whatever it is. And I just keep writing all the way through.
Right. So we have this ongoing discussion in this group about the pillars of story.
Mm-hmm.
It's like plot, character, world building, and then the arguable fourth leg of like method of telling the story. Kind of like, Tarantino's Pulp Fiction is a very different format than a lot of things. And we all have our favorites. I'm just curious, do you have a favorite of those? Like, you have to be competent at all of them.
Yeah.
But do you have a favorite? And does JR or any of your writing partners have a favorite?
So we start with plot because that's where the structure comes from.
Mm-hmm.
This is what's going to happen. I think but the books are quite character driven, but I add the character part in as I'm writing. It's not necessarily, we talk about the arc of each character as we're writing. And, especially if it's a new character, this is where they start. This is where we want them to end up, because we need an aiming point.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of how we structure the book, it's very plot first. But I think what happens during the writing process is all those character things come alive. And as you go back through and you do multiple passes, those parts deepen. So I think the answer to your question is we start with plot and end with character.
Okay.
I like that.
Do your characters ever, like, while you're writing a character, do they ever alter any of the plot?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So the reason why we do a detailed outline, and this comes from many painful experiences, is because I never want to be in the position when I sit down in the morning to say, okay, what am I going to write? Because I know what I'm supposed to write.
Sure. The book.
So I can either write what I'm assigned to write for that day, chapter, whatever, or I can come up with something new, but I have to write something.
Mm.
Right. So, and if I can't come up with something better than what we have, I write what we have.
Mm.
And if it doesn't work out, then I'll rewrite it. We'll fix it in post.
Okay. And is the world building sort of more like a utilitarian element, or is that more like JR and his research and everything?
The world building comes in. So yeah, this is a really interesting question, because we've just started to think about this now. So the worldview of our books is what we would consider a traditional worldview, which, post World War II, post Cold War, Russia's an enemy, China is a strategic opponent, the U.S. is the force of good for the free world. Current events have sort of put that in question.
Mm.
And so when you have that's the backbone of our books, right? The good guys win,
Right.
and we're the good guys, but there's always a cost to that win, which is really the message of our books is, it ain't free. Every mission has a cost. But when you start to overlay current events on things, you that worldview, which was just assumed, or at least we assumed it, becomes something you have to be explicit about, which I just find amazing that I even have to say that, right?
Right. It's like an aggregate cost after so many.
Yeah. I mean, and to be honest, some of the things that are happening now, if we wrote them into a book, we would have longtime readers say, that's unrealistic. This book is terrible.
Sure.
And so, I mean, truth is transcended fiction in this case. And you're just like, what is going on here?
You know, they say truth is stranger than fiction. And some people, like, they say it, but they don't really believe it until they're faced with it.
Yeah. And we're being faced with it now.
Yes.
So when you think about these things, questioning, so back to your question about world building, we do have world building in the sense that when you're on a submarine, we want you to feel like you're on a submarine. We want you to feel, what it smells like, what the atmosphere, is it hot or is it cold? How many people are around you, all those sensory things, and what that experience is like. Same thing with an aircraft carrier, or if you're with a SEAL team, whatever. But the larger world building, which I would call worldview, we took as a given, and that's become a question now.
Right.
Has any of your plot now then from all these books subsequently altered that history almost a little bit? Because if you're doing something and, big event happens, do you remember take that event for any of the other books?
We have had things that we've written that have happened. So for example, the third book in this series is about a Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Oh, dang. Okay.
And we wrote it before it happened, and then it happened. Now, obviously, our book is not the same as that, but two pillars that were part of the book, and part of the reason why we continued to publish it was, one was there was a heavy emphasis in our book on drones. And what has happened since has even wildly surpassed anything we even thought of. And the other thing was the rise of private military contractors, which is, again, something that, the Wagner Group in Ukraine, for instance, was a major factor, especially early on with the Russians. So those two things, we felt it was important to really highlight those. And everything we wrote has happened, and then some. Again, truth is transcended fiction here.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Just one thing about this book, actually, and we picked it because we thought it was fanciful. The background is with the first term president. He's in a few months. All these things are starting to happen. Disparate things are starting to happen around the globe. One of the things that happens is there's an uprising in Venezuela. And this president, one of his campaign promises was that he was going to clean up South America, starting with Venezuela. So when this happened, he felt obligated to do it. And it didn't work out well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, there's somebody behind all these things, which is sort of the basis of the story. But as we're seeing these things unfold in the Caribbean, we're like, no, don't do that. This is bad. This is bad.
Right.
My main question for you in light of that is, can you stop?
Are you bringing this into existence?
So my wife says, I want your next book to be about world peace.
Please.
It's only going to be 20 pages long, but
Yes. It'll be a short story.
Yeah.
With a lot of kittens.
Kittens will say
it does get a little emotionally wearing, I think, is the right term.
I feel that way sometimes when I'm working on my narcissism to English dictionary. It's like, well, I'm spending a lot of mental space in this dark place. I need a break.
But I also think that it's important to show stories of, resiliency in a way too, because it's such a needed.
Yeah.
I hate saying character trait, to use that phrase if anybody has a better phrase too, but it's because things obviously will keep happening in some way, shape or form. Every day brings something new, a new tragedy, a new, what's the opposite of tragedy? A good thing. Comedy.
Sorry.
They will all come, but resiliency, if you don't learn how to become resilient, you're just gonna become apathetic and just go with things as they happen. And I don't know. So I feel like it is emotionally taxing and exhausting, but at the same time, so important, I think, for the readership that's out there.
Yeah, the term resiliency is a good one. and I think that that's a theme throughout the books. I mean, I think the major theme throughout our books is that yes, you're doing these things and the intentions are good, but somebody's paying the bill, and it's generally not the guy at the top. And so we see that happening in real time, and we see the cost of those things. I mean, your point is well taken. What's happened recently is when you start to question your entire worldview, it's a little scary, actually. I mean, I feel like I have to write a post. We do a weekly post on Substack. I feel like I have to write a post that says, this is the worldview of our novels, where a year ago would not even have been something I would have even thought would have to be a thing.
Sure.
Right.
You feel like you have to defend, like keep them separate, so you're not like defending a
right.
thing.
And because it also like it puts you in a spot of vulnerability, which is I would think uncomfortable, to, like you said, to question your own worldview.
So I don't question my worldview.
Oh, okay.
I believe the way I was brought up. I mean, I don't think the current situation is going to last. But I mean, when a reader picks up a book, they come with an expectation, right?
Sure. And
the expectation until, a year ago, let's say, was that, we're in realistic fiction, which means it's, set in a current world that we understand, and we understand sort of the grand game rules. And that's, I mean, I don't think it's broken yet, but it ain't healthy.
Sure.
I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I've read a decent amount of Tom Clancy, and, you walk into his books and, it took me maybe, I was younger, so it probably took me a book and a half to be like, oh, I think I'm picking up the worldview.
Yeah.
But then every time you go to one of his books, you're expecting it to be written from that worldview.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
I don't know, how much of that is his actual worldview or how much is just what he set up. And I don't know if you guys run into this with just what you write, like that you're trying or just incidentally creating a particular view that you're trying to get the reader to buy into, either to buy into it or to deceive them, like my first book I know is like, it's if you can look at it black and white, good guys, bad guys, but there are hints the whole time that that's not really the case.
Right.
So I don't know.
Well, there's worldview and there's world building, right?
Yeah.
So worldview would be, I think, the fundamental rules that exist behind the story, let's say.
Sure.
And while world building has rules, whether it's magic or whatever.
Right.
But world building is the mechanisms of that society, the money, the customs, the way they eat, get married, whatever. And so we don't have to do as much of that.
Yeah, the dynamics.
Although on the individual societies, whether it's a submarine, whether it's an aircraft carrier, whether it's a Air Force unit, whatever, they're going to have their own set of sort of world building necessities, right?
Right. Stuff that the average reader is not familiar with.
Exactly.
But it's not going to be so extraordinary that no one's going to believe it. I mean, unless you let's have airplanes, you have dragons that you're flying on an aircraft carrier.
Exactly.
So it's one of those things where I do think it's, I don't want to say easier, but like with books that we write for fantasy, we have to explain everything.
Exactly. So we can make assumptions that people are going to understand what we're talking about.
Right.
So from that sense, I think it's easier. So when we started working together, actually, and this was JR, one of our very first meetings, it might have even been the very first lunch we had. We had two principles. Principle number one was stay friends. Which was, so if the writing got in the way of the friendship, we were going to abandon the writing. And we only had any expectations of writing a book together.
Right.
The second one was we wanted to be as authentic as possible. And at the time, our interpretation of that was technical accuracy. So if you're talking about a weapons platform or what people can do or can't do, we were going to be true to what was the unclassified version of that. At least we don't use any classified information, even if we know differently. But what we found as we went along, it was more about how people think and how people operate. And that was more of the authenticity aspect of it. Because technical accuracy is actually not that hard, but accuracy of personality and accuracy of mission can be harder.
Yeah, living up to your own principles about your own self.
Mhm.
Right. Exactly.
Well, people are varied. A machine gun's always going to be the same machine gun.
Yeah.
People are varied.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas I like hearing that because I won't lie, character is one of my favorite elements of the 3 pillars that arguably 4, I think sometimes. But your distinction between worldview and world building, I had never considered that until this conversation. Maybe in so many words, we've talked about it, in different ways, but actually defining the difference between the two, I think can be very helpful for somebody that world building is not my favorite of the pillar. Like it's obviously you have to have some kind of expertise in it in some way, shape or form, but it is like on the bottom for me. Like for me, it's a character plot world building. Although recently I've been trying to challenge myself more with world building. So I'm really excited to try to dig into that sort of worldview of what's behind. Actually, would you say worldview is like underneath the umbrella of world building, or do they share the umbrella?
I think it's like the architecture behind it. It's the superstructure over the whole thing.
Sure.
If you look at, Lord of the Rings, right? Sauron is bad. He's the evil that overlooks everything. I think it's Sauron, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Well, actually,
So those are the things that those are. It's kind of like the operating system of the world.
That's a good way to put it.
And I don't know that most books actually say it out loud, but as you read the book, you start to understand the operating rules that govern that society. One of my favorite books is Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula Le Guin. And that one has actually an extremely unique both world building and worldview that, but you get sort of dropped in. And part of the reason why I like it is you have to figure all that stuff out.
I hadn't really thought about the difference between worldview and world building.
I've blown your mind.
Honestly, this is great.
Yeah, it's sort of like I sort of look at worldview. If someone had to ask me like how I use worldview and I had to come up with from whole cloth what that means to me, I'd probably say something along the lines of, it has to do with the story that I want to tell. Because you can't have 100% accuracy and still have a story.
Yeah.
Because you have to focus on the elements that you care about, want to tell. I don't have any time a character might get a cold. I'm not writing that in there. And so like that affects worldview of just like, here's the direction of the story. And you can sense a sort of view behind that of like, here's how governments work. Here's how characters work, characters of note, characters aren't, how your average person works. Plus just a general understanding of, it's hard for me to actually put words to. It's almost like a hybrid of like shared understanding and shared incentive structures mixed with the actual,
mechanics
and technologies and everything.
And I hadn't really thought about it much myself because it was always an assumed thing for us. What actually spurred it was a couple of weeks ago, the National Security Strategy was published, which is a document which is published by the national security apparatus, and it basically lays out, these are the things that matter to us. And it's always been NATO, it's always been China is a strategic component and Russia's an enemy, and this one like turned the whole world upside down. And it's a little bit wonky, but at the same time as I'm thinking about this, I'm like, oh my God, all of our books are founded on what was the national security strategy or the underpinnings behind that. And it's been that way basically since the end of World War II in some form or another. And I'm like, do I have to like explain? Do I have to put an explainer at the beginning of our books now and say, this is what we think? Because that seems like crazy.
Right.
So it's been top of mind. And I don't think you necessarily need to be explicit about it within, a fantasy novel or something, but I think it emerges from the telling of the story.
Well, and I would think that just as an author, if you're grappling with it, I would imagine that would infect various characters. Like, well, this is how I can explore that on the page. Because if I'm confused about things, then characters will be confused about things.
Yeah.
Right.
So in our books, the assumption is that the politicians are operating under the old rules. I guess I'll say it that way. So
Sure.
Right.
I'm finishing a book now that'll come out in the summer, and we have 2 more under contract after that. So we haven't really grappled with what we're gonna whether we're going to change our worldview for the next couple of books.
Well, that seems very realistic.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
But I'm curious about this now, because do you really feel like you need to? Because one, everything is there's some kind of escapism, some kind of just like, they know they're not reading this historical like manuscript or whatever. And it's almost like you just let them be in there and they'll figure their way through it. Right. Because you don't.
That's where I am right now.
Okay.
I got to tell you,
Yeah.
I don't think I can rewire my head to say that we're back to a Monroe Doctrine, dividing up the world by spheres and Russia can take over Europe and China can have Asia. I'm just not. I can't wrap my head around it, honestly.
Sure.
Because then, I mean, you said it was one of your goals to be authentic.
Yeah.
And while that you meant that in a technical aspect, at this point in time, it's almost like it's shifting in a way where
So you can feel my pain is basically what you're saying,
a
right?
little bit, yeah.
The bitch about authenticity is that it updates in real time.
Ooh, I want that on a mug. Man.
Oh,
2 mugs we need to make now.
Yeah.
So JR and I have not had this explicit conversation yet. So JR, if you're listening, we're having it
Broke it
now
here first.
Yeah. I'm road testing
Exclusive.
it. Yes.
Yeah. We might have to get a 5th microphone.
Honestly.
We're
Join
workshopping it
us.
right now, buddy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I'm curious too, like, so this is obviously, I don't even know what you would call it, historical nonfiction, kind of like what you do, or what?
It's probably contemporary
Fiction.
Yeah. So
thriller.
we like to think of it as near future. I mean, everything's set a couple of years in the future. So technology. So when we use technology, we have, everything we use either has to be something that's on the drawing board or something that, is realistic.
Sure.
Based on where technology is today.
Yeah,
so we're
the science exists and now it's the technology that follows.
Right.
Yeah. So in the book that comes out in January, which is the start of a new series, it's called Weapons Free. The Chinese develop a new supercavitating torpedo that can go super fast and upsets the whole balance of power within the South China Sea.
Oh, dang.
And that technology has existed for a long time. Right. Nobody's implemented it for a whole bunch of reasons.
Sure.
But in our book, they figured it out and they're implementing it and we have to react. So we don't do sci-fi in our books, but we push the edges of the technology where we can.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because so that brings that's actually what I was trying to get to, is that you've done sci-fi before.
Yeah.
And I was curious, like, was that more of a freeing expression of yourself, or like
There's a hell of a lot less research, I got to tell you.
Yeah. Because you can just do, and then like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, sci-fi is an interesting thing because if you peel it back and the science fiction part is not front and center of the fiction, then it's just, you're just dressing up, a rom-com or
Sure.
Yeah, it's like a
or
backdrop.
thriller, whatever. And so it has to be integral to the story. And that's where I sort of draw the line between sort of science fiction and speculative fiction.
Sure.
So I went to Clarion West in 2017. Are you familiar with that?
No. I was gonna ask.
Yeah. So it's a 6-week intensive writers workshop. It takes place in Seattle. So they have 18 students a year, and it's a daily. Everybody's supposed to write a story a week, and you have a daily critique session for like an hour or for a couple hours in the morning, where you go around the table and you critique everybody's story. I mean, it was a great experience and really broadened my horizons in terms of what was possible with science fiction and speculative fiction, and really made some great friends there. So it was, I mean, if anybody, I think they're accepting applications for this year now. I might be wrong about that.
I don't have 6 weeks off.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a great experience if you have the ability to do that.
Sure.
For sure.
Right. Yeah.
Like Survivor.
Yeah.
And actually, that's something that you talked about earlier, is that you would not recommend quitting a day job to become a writer. Did I hear that correctly?
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
want to paraphrase
Oh,
too
yeah.
much for you.
So here's my personal, I was going to say problem. It isn't really a problem. I can only work on one thing at a time.
Sure.
So for years and years, trying to write a book for an hour in the morning or 2 hours in the morning and then work a corporate job, whatever, it just never worked for me.
Right.
I just could not divide my brain to give enough mind share to the book and to my job. And so I felt like I had to commit to one. I mean, I had a hard enough time with work-life balance, right?
Yeah.
So to add a book to that, I started half a dozen novels easy. And I got, 20,000 words in, partly because I didn't have an outline. You get in and it starts to get hard. You're like, I have to go to work.
This actually gives me money.
So when I left the job and I was 47, I left the job and came home and I used to travel a lot. And I came home and all of a sudden I was around the house a lot. And my wife is like, you are going to drive me crazy. You've got to find something to do. And I'm like, okay, well, I would volunteer for Habitat for Humanity. And she says, you've always said you're going to write a book. Why don't you write a book? And I'm like, I have zero excuses. So Monday morning, went to my desk and I pulled out one of those manuscripts and I said, okay, let's write a book. And I got like a couple chapters in. I'm like, I need an outline. Then I got a few more chapters in. I need a better outline. And then I got a few, and I'm like, oh yeah, I need to start over. And went through that whole process.
So you're a planner, not a pantser.
I mean, so I'd like to have a structure to start with and deviate from it. So I'm a
same
chaotic plotter. Is that a
I love that.
Is that a D&D alignment?
Yeah, right.
I think it should be.
I'm not a D&D guy, but I do have friends that are, and I think that I probably picked it up from that.
Another mug.
For sure.
Okay.
So I love when you're to start, I need to have an ending I'm shooting at.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and we almost always know the last scene of a book, or we at least know the emotional beat we want, or the emotional note we want to end on. But in the process, as you're going along, probably the best part about the thing is you're writing and then you just, oh my God, what if this happened?
Yeah.
We didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then all the possibilities start to just,
The more that happens, the better I know my book's going to be.
yeah,
Sure.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it's
It becomes
almost-
organic and it makes itself. So you don't have to work for it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what's the favorite part? What's your favorite part of
Plot. I'm plot first.
plot
Sorry.
first?
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Finish your question. I thought you meant like the 3 pillars.
What's your favorite part of the actual writing process? Is it the outline? Is it drafting? Is it the editing? Is it the revising? Is it just the?
It's when you hand the book over and you get money back.
Yes.
He's very much the end in mind guy over there.
A completionist.
Yes.
I like it.
Yeah.
Not just. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
My favorite is actually that moment you just described, but that comes more from, I've got a structure, I've got characters organically, and I'm inhabiting them enough that they naturally converge on a thing, and then it reveals itself to me.
Yeah.
So I guess it's part of the writing process. Yeah. It's never editing. It's not really the outlining, although sometimes in the outlining is where I get those moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of where it is. It's like when I'm in the flow of it and I'm having a great scene, just kind of pour onto the.
Sure.
I was going to say onto the page, whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
The screen. Yeah.
It's all page.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's it for me. I'd say. It's always a convergence of, it's almost always a convergence of plot and character.
I would agree with that one, especially like it's the moment of like, what is it? The A-team line. Like, I love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like, I think that's my favorite part is when cause I'm what did you say? Chaotic plotter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a thief.
I just made that up, but yeah.
No, I like
Sounds like a
it.
diabolical plotter.
Let's go with it. Yeah.
Yes. I definitely, I feel that because there's times where I do make this overarching, idea of where I think it should go, the main emotional beats, let's say, and then you just start kind of fleshing it out, adding more to it, adding your characters. How would they actually respond? Would what I think was going to happen make sense with what their agenda is or whoever it is? But it's when those moments of all the characters, like you said, like intersect with the plot and then make that, it sort of makes those magical moments that you almost didn't anticipate happening, or you anticipated them, but oh man, do I love just how it turned out.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that moment is, because it's not necessarily like, you know, the climax at the end or, you know, particularly at the midpoint. Like it could happen almost at any point.
It's like accidental synergy. Like I think there was a golfer who was asked, like, you know, why are you so good at golf? And he said, oh, it's all just luck, really. And someone said, well, but you practice a lot. And he's like, yeah, practice makes me luckier.
Exactly.
I read that. Yeah.
Do you want to revise your answer, Rio?
Oh yeah. No, there's I've always been an ideas guy. Like I will say that because I came from watching movies and like I never read books when I'm dyslexic. So that was always a difficult thing to struggle to go through. And so movies were an easy thing because you get so much information from just one instance of like, you know, visual come into your brain. But it's just like, but I knew I had stories. I knew I wanted to write stuff. So like I loved building the worlds and like, because I always picked things from all different avenues where it's just like, I like this of this and like that from that. And I wanted to see where I can mix them and kind of make them my own and everything and be, because everything's transformative. They say like, you know, you're always taking parts and I like doing that. But I found out very quickly that writing is such an experiment of just like describing what you see as like, because I'm thinking like storyboards, like, you know, and I can't just say this happened, this happened, this happened. And like the plot points are always there. And I always think I have good plot points, but getting that out was very difficult. So, I mean, I wrote my first book and I found I was like, oh God, I'm horrible at this, but I learned. So my second book was a lot better, you know? But it's just like, I found that because I wrote with Kate, you know, a book and I found that so much more rewarding because not just because some of that like weight was lifted off of me, but because it just like the collaboration made just everything better. Like, you know, I knew I could take my ideas and some of her ideas and we can mix them together. And then she just has a better way of prose and like writing things. I was like, yeah, that's way better than I'm ever going to do. So, but world building and like just story ideas was always a big thing for me. Yeah.
And actually shout out for co-writers.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the best possible things is that you get stuck, right? And the ability to just pick up the phone and call somebody who knows the story as well as you do. And you can say, hey, JR, I'm here and Rachel's, you know, in the house and she's going to do the thing, but it isn't working. You know, what talk me through this again.
Sure.
And he says, well, you know, so she does this and, you know, have you thought about that? And almost always within 10 minutes, I'm like, oh yeah. I got it now.
Thanks, bye.
Magic.
Yeah, gotta go right.
Yeah. It's awesome.
That as you were talking, I was like, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah. It's like having your own personal AI, right? You know?
Yes. And genuine human connection too on the other side of that phone or on the other side of the table, whatever you're doing. And Rio, honestly, half the times where he would come into the office and just lay on the floor, like, wow, what am I doing? You know, like, what's this character doing? And I think being that trusted other half is also such a wonderful thing to sort of like steward the world with them. And so you're right. Yeah. Shout out to co-writers.
I mean, you're the reason I made Salil the main character. Like I wrote my first book about, wrote my first book about the boy and everything. And then I was writing, I was like, I came there, I just laid down. I was like, oh my God, I think Salil's the main character. I've got to rewrite this book. Like,
you really did.
Yeah.
And it was so cool to see then to like, I don't know, that project of yours then evolve into something else. And now it continues to evolve. And like you were saying, being part of that sort of writers, it was not a retreat. I don't know if that's what you would call it. Like how neat, you know, that is too, because like the power of camaraderie, I don't know, something about it. I can't think of the right word.
We were also so very different. There was a woman there from Singapore. I guess I was 51. And so I was dad of the class, but there was about half the class was like 27, couple of MFAs. There was a few in their 30s, a few in their 40s, and then me. But you got such a diversity of worldviews and of experience. So, you know, there were some mothers in there. There were some, you know, people There was 2 trans women there. And, you know, there was just this whole amalgam of different world experiences that was just, I mean, personally and professionally it was really transformative.
Nice.
So what, going back a little bit, what got you to want to be a writer in the first place? I mean, before you ever met JR, like.
Oh, I can tell you. So I knew that I wanted to be a writer when I was 7 years old.
Nice.
I can tell you the moment. So I was 7 and I graduated to chapter books,
Right.
and I loved the Hardy Boys. And the first book in the Hardy Boys, I think it's A Secret of the Old Mill. I read that. It took me like, I don't know how many weeks it took me, because, I'm just learning to read and I'm going through and and I finished the book and I'm like, that's what I want to do. And at 47, I decided to actually do it.
40 years later.
We all have our journeys, right?
Yeah, I know. I didn't really actually even enjoy writing until I was 18. But, I came at it through gaming. I was sure, from high school, I wanted to be an astrophysicist. And then I went into astrophysics. I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah. I don't want
to do this much calculus every day.
Right, yeah.
No one warned me.
Yeah. And then after that, you make the decision. You're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be a writer. And then after a while, you realize in order to call yourself a writer, you have to write something.
Have to write. Yes, exactly.
And not just keep putting it off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so the interesting thing, I still have that. I collected all I still have, I think it was 52 of them. I still have them.
Wow.
When my son was I got them out and I was going to read them to him. They are terrible. They are horrible.
You can't go back. You can never go home.
I know. So I'm like, oh my God, these are terrible. But
That's funny.
I loved them so much at that time.
Sure.
I loved them so much.
People who like Twilight have the same problem.
Especially because
Twilight
your own like self-discovery in a way too.
Yeah.
Like you earned those stories and the adventure that you went on, like with those stories, because you yourself were, learning how to read at that age. And actually, as you were saying that, it kind of hit me that I don't remember a time where like I couldn't read. And that's just like a random tangent, but like as writers, like you don't think back that far.
Yeah.
So how cool to know that at 7, you wanted to write.
I mean, I just remember it so clearly. And I remembered it over and over and over again. And we read to our kids a lot. And I remember when Harry Potter came out, my daughter was 6 and I read her the first Harry Potter.
Oh.
And I think I read her the second one and then she started reading them on her own. But both kids loved Harry Potter, read through the whole series. I read through the whole series, but they didn't need me anymore. But those are like life milestones that are marked by books.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Do they like historical fiction or fantasy?
My wife likes historical fiction a lot, actually.
Private fiction.
That's her. She doesn't read my book. She's just
it's too modern.
It's just not my thing.
Yeah. I was speaking of history and like research. I was curious because I mean, I do a lot of historical research, and it sounds like JR does like the bulk or all of yours. And have you ever written something and then research saved you from a costly mistake, like just a costly mistake in accuracy or something like that, or just before you actually put it in print, like one of you catches something?
We've definitely caught stuff. I can't think of anything specific off the top of my head, but
that's all right. We don't need to out any errors.
Yeah. I mean, we have a reader group that we have readers that if you make a mistake about a military detail, you will get an email about it.
Oh, sure.
I mean, we don't make a lot. We do make a few.
Sure.
But yeah, we and you know what? Actually, I could think of one. U.S. military submarines use feet, make your depth 150 feet, whatever.
Yeah.
Somewhere I read that they'd switch to meters, which makes sense. And actually the depth gauges and things, which are digital, they have a button and you can switch them feet to meters. And I'm like, that makes perfect sense. So I actually wrote that in a book, and I had somebody write to me and said, you moron.
Stop writing.
They use feet. I'm like, I mean, I'd read it and I didn't even question it.
Sure.
Yeah. Someone on TikTok said,
Canada said
video
it's
And I'm
good.
like, well, that makes sense. They work with NATO all the time. NATO's in meters, right? And I just
We don't bend for anyone.
Thank goodness for beta readers then,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
alpha readers, and
Exactly.
do whatever level they're at.
That's something I wonder about because I have an opposite sort of experience, like at doing historical fiction. There aren't so many people alive who actually have like living memory experience. And so I've said before, I'll get this sometimes where, like someone come up to me like, man, this thing you wrote was so realistic. And like, really well done. And outwardly, I'm saying I do my best. And inwardly, I'm like, dude, I made that up. Totally made that up.
That's that moment. I love it when a plan comes together. It's the magic. It's the, hey, that worked out. Awesome. Nobody will ever know. Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you, but you can find out. Yeah. Clearly, you're the master of research here. So.
Man, there's so many questions I feel like we could ask too.
Go for it.
Oh goodness. No, well, one just like submarine stuff. That's so specific. But
what does a submarine smell like?
A submarine does not smell good.
Yeah, that's what my nephew is in the Navy too. He told me.
And so here's the thing. When you're on a submarine for an extended period of time, you go nose blind, right?
Oh, sure. Yep.
So you don't know what you smell like or what everybody smells like. But when you get off the submarine and you see your wife, she's like, don't touch me. We're going to go home and you're going to take that uniform off. I'm going to burn it.
Yep.
And then you're going to take a very long shower before you touch me.
And scrub.
And then the next day when you go back to the submarine and you get to hatch, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because your nose has been reset.
Right.
Sure.
So
Does not smell like roses.
Very funky.
Right.
It's very funky.
It's like going back to a hoarder's house or something. Oh boy.
And we actually, so we were in Buffalo earlier this summer. We got to see, I don't know the classification of the different submarines, but we were inside of it.
Yeah.
There was not a lot of room to move.
Yeah.
You were a tall person. How did you manage it?
You probably saw a diesel submarine. A nuclear powered submarine are much larger.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
these things are the size of a football field, lengthwise. However, the back 2/3 is engine room and machinery and stuff. So people work there, but they don't live there.
Sure.
So all of the operation stuff happens in the first third. So everybody lives there, the whole 120 people, whatever, live and work there and eat there and do all their other stuff there. So it's pretty cramped.
Mhm.
But I mean, you don't normally have a lot of things that you can run. Well, I mean, there are some things you can run your head into, but you sort of develop like this sense where, I mean, you just know and you're like,
Sure.
It's just a dance.
it's just an environment that you get immersed in and you just adapt to it.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. So
I like that you say that use the word immerse, because earlier when you were talking about your stories and really trying to give the reader something to like grab onto, to like bring them into the world, I was like, that sounds so immersive. Like that sounds like what, because when talking about world building specifically, where you kind of assume a lot for the reader, or you allow the reader to assume a lot, you almost have to lean on that immersiveness to make it as rich as, to keep the reader engaged.
yeah, I mean, a pro tip is smell. Actually, it's an underused sensation, I think, within writing that can trigger a lot because everybody thinks visually.
Right.
Okay, great. But taste and smell are two things that if you use them, you get a lot of mileage for a very few amount of words, in my experience.
Yeah, I feel like that's even more true just since we live in the era of movies.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So people they're used to sort of duplicating what they see, how they consume fiction.
Exactly. You and what you miss from that is the movie also has a musical soundtrack, and it has all the other elements that you don't have on the written word that you got to generate in your head.
Right.
So if you can give more sensory details, that really seeks to draw the reader in pretty quick.
I like that. That's something that we actually haven't talked a lot, I think, on this podcast is.
I might write that down.
Yeah.
Sensory.
Thanks for the ideas. Yeah.
4D cinemas with smells.
So there is, you've probably done writing workshops where they say, in 3 paragraphs or something, use all 5 sentences, all 5 senses rather.
Sure.
Which is a bit of a contrived thing, but because you so rarely think of smell or rarely think of taste, the fact that you get reminded of it, you're like, you know, and that's the kind of stuff when I go back in multiple passes, you add those things in because you're looking for that immersion, right?
Right.
So we write multiple point of view. So every character, every chapter, almost every chapter is I treat it kind of like a short story, right?
Sure.
The outline is the prompt, and you know, you've got to figure out a way to get them into the scene and establish who the point of view character is and get the action happening in a very short amount of time. So, I mean, our chapters are 2,000 words plus minus 10% normally.
Sure.
On our new series, we're trying to pick up the pace. So the chapters are a little shorter.
Interesting.
Yeah, my chapter's getting longer.
Yeah, and that I think comes down to a bit of a stylistic choice too, right? Where you're really trying to keep the pace, you know, going a bit, but you might find a story where, you know, you want to adapt that a little bit or, but one thing with the senses, I find it a really interesting concept because one, I love using smell because I love writing a lot of nature,
right?
Which, I mean, you know, the submarine is sort of like the antithesis of that, where it's all metal, it's all whatever, but
metal and BO.
But I love using the sense of smell in nature. Yeah. And so I just love the idea of challenging yourself to not take those senses for granted, regardless of what your setting is.
Yeah. One way that I know I'm a noob at these things is that when I actually internally pat myself on the back when I remember to use I know there's a scene in one of my books where, you know, like Koya, one of my main characters, is returning to South America, having been on islands for 4 years. And it's like, it smells like it has this feeling of like the familiar smell. And when I wrote that, I was like, like, that means I don't do it enough.
Yeah. But so, I mean, when you go back and edit, do you go back and say, okay, on this pass, I want to make sure I tick these boxes, whether it's character development or whether it's sensory or whether it's, you know, immersion?
I do that some. What I find is the more experienced I get, the more boxes I add. I do an editing outline. And again, it's not like, it's not this by rote sort of thing. It's more like right now it's more, what was the scene supposed to accomplish? Whose perspective was it from? Was there character growth? Like, you know, but the scene has to accomplish something to justify its existence.
Sure.
Yeah.
And not just, you know, well, you know, I did exposition about, you know, this fighting style or something like that. Yeah. Like it has to be something meaningful to the overall story. That's mostly where it resides with me right now. I could go through too and say like, how descriptive was I with things? Usually my beta readers will catch that, especially my brother, who, by the way, that's my only collaborative thing. I haven't co-written anything with anybody, but he came up with the title for my second book when I was just stymied. And, you know, I told him like, I like having meaning, I like having titles and chapter headings that have dual meanings. And I could not think of the title for the second book. Yeah. And he came up with True Colors, which originated from nautical stuff anyway.
Sure.
I'm like,
right.
Sure.
Well, okay, duh. Thanks. Yeah. You found my title.
It's like you were too in it in order to be able to come up with the title.
Just too close to it. Sure.
Yeah. So he will come up with some of these, you know, I'd like more description here.
Yeah.
Yeah. My sister is my first reader. She's read everything first since I started writing, actually.
Wow.
She's always good. She's a little too kind, I think.
Sure.
She's a kind person in general, so she doesn't want to hurt my feelings. But, you know, I have a very fragile ego. But
no, you don't.
You're perfect the way you are. Don't change.
You're just fine.
For me, I guess I haven't thought much about, you know, the specific type of points I want to hit when I go back and edit. I think, and maybe it's a little backwards, but like I primarily will go for, okay, because I put so much work into the planning, I feel like, of a scene or of a chapter, whatever, that when I do go back through almost like the first time, I'm trying to go for, does this punch in the way that I want it to?
Yeah.
And so whether that be like sensory or not as much as I wish, but now I'm going to think about it more. Or is it, you know, does this word fit the feeling that I want to come across? And maybe I'm doing that too soon. That's something I will acknowledge.
There's different types of editing too, you know, like
True.
that, some of that, the word, line editing is more
Right.
does this word hit the way I want? But,
Right.
the first editing pass, you're sort of looking for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Major stuff.
This is my favorite part, I guess. Maybe.
But this has been wonderful. And thank you again so much for being here. And, we could go all night, as I always say, with a lot of these things and everything, but you got your own family you need to attend to.
And
I do have one more question. Do you have a question?
My question is just, how do people find your stuff?
Oh, sure.
What are you working on now? Just, take your minute in the sunshine.
Yeah.
Okay. My
Bask
15
in the
seconds
glow.
of fame. So the website is bruns-olson.com. So Bruns, B-R-U-N-S, rhymes with buns, dash Olson, O-L-S-O-N, not E-N-O-N, .com. So books wise, we have an early series called the WMD Files, which starts with Weapons of Mass Deception. That has 2 self-published books, 2 books published by St. Martin's Press. This book here is Command and Control. That's the lead book of our most popular series. It's 7 books. The 7th book came out in September, and a new series begins called The Third Option, which is sort of focused on CIA operations. Speaking of worldviews, CIA operations, that first book launches at the end of January. It's called Weapons Free. That is a big submarine book. Lots of submarine action. That was my favoriteest book to write.
Nice.
I bet.
And since this is airing in January, be on the lookout for that coming up soon.
The release is January 20th,
All right.
Wonderful.
Nice. Okay.
which is my anniversary, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. Yeah.
How many years?
36.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
We'll get there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And my last question for you, very,
Yes.
very, very, very important question, because we're talking about Century. What does a submarine taste like?
Submarine tastes like
That's a fair question.
funky. It tastes a little, it's got like a trying to think of something where you go in, it's a very thick atmosphere and it sort of settles in the back of your throat.
That oily.
So it's a mixture of oily and sometimes you end up venting sanitary tanks inboard.
Oh,
Sanitary is the poopy tanks.
yeah.
Sometimes you end up venting them inboard. So the particulate stuff doesn't come in, but you get some of those volatile compounds, those juicy volatile compounds. So you've got diesel fuel, diesel oil, hydraulic oil. It's heavily air conditioned, of course, and climate controlled. It's actually quite cold because there's a lot of computer equipment.
Sure.
And then you've got sort of this underlay of oily funk, which sort of catches at the back of your throat. Yeah.
But
it's actually a great life. I mean,
organic and inorganic exhaust fumes.
exactly.
I've never imagined like a cold foul before.
Yeah.
And that,
Bog.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That was wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you
for that.
I'm glad you had an answer because I would imagine after long enough on a submarine, you would know.
You know everything. Like, yeah.
And the other thing is, I mean, you eat quite well, but after a while, the food all tastes the same
Oh, sure.
because your senses just sort of level out. So you can have steak. It could be chicken. It could be steak. It could be whatever. And of course, the cooks start to lay on heavily onto the seasonings, right?
Sure.
Because,
Old Bay.
Yeah. Old Bay. Hot sauce.
Well, in the 15th week of our little cruise.
We had one cook who loved tarragon.
Oh, sure.
He'd make chicken soup with tarragon. You're like, oh, dude, what is that? Oh, that's tarragon, sir. Wow. That's special, my friend. Yeah.
Fights off diseases. It's great.
Yeah. Well,
hey, at least you're tasting it.
it tasted something that day.
Yeah.
But every time I taste something with tarragon, I'm like, yeah, I'm right back there. You know?
Yeah. See, like you said, sensations.
Again,
Yeah, that's
right.
Exactly.
It'll really make it real for people.
Yeah.
So you guys tell us out there what you think Bards and Balladeers taste like. And
Or ask us on our next live stream what we think it tastes
our
like.
Discord, yeah.
Right.
So, but again, pleasure. Thank you for
Thank you so much
for a long way.
for having me. It was a great time.
Yeah. So I'm glad you could make it.
Yeah.
So, well, we're Bards and Balladeers. It's been a pleasure. I am Rio.
I'm Oscar.
I'm Kate.
And this is our guest, David Bruns.
Hi.
We'll catch you all next time. See you later.
Bye.